Welcome to the 99 podcast with HVS. My co-host today is Joe Orecchio from the NBA. My name is Aaron Meyer. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the NBA All-Star Weekend and prep for the NBA's version of the stretch run. But first, Billy Packard knows what time it is.
When Michigan can keep this game to a 19-foot 9-inch game inside that three-point line, it's all there. By Steve Fisher here. Turn it into the 19-9 game.
What's going on, Joe?
Hey, what's up, Aaron? How are you?
Pretty good, man. Hey, I've got some exciting topics to talk about. Want to get into All-Star and get your thoughts on the second half of the NBA season. But I want to rewind a little bit and talk a little bit about first David Stern and just kind of get your perspective on him. And then just your perspective on Kobe, just from the inside of the NBA, because I can imagine even in a giant organization, there's a more personal feel, and it just affects your day-to-day life in a unique way.
I mean, yeah, it definitely affected work for everybody, that's for sure. The Stern thing, I mean, was a little different just because we all kind of not saw it coming, but we knew it was coming sooner or later. Mm-hmm. You know, from what we'd, kind of seen in the media, they were kind of quiet about it, but like, they were saying, he had surgery, whatever it was. And then like, they were kind of just like, they didn't say if he was in critical condition. They didn't say, it was kind of like nothing. And then all of a sudden, I think it was New Year's Day, he passed away. Yeah. And it was a little crazy that day, especially work wise. Okay. But that guy was a great commissioner, because you see some of the commissioners we have nowadays in sports, and I just think that like he did a lot to innovate, man, and to really take the NBA to a new place. And he's the reason why the international game's so big. He's the reason why a lot of stuff that's prevalent today is because of him. I be honest, I think he's the best commissioner in pro sports history. I really do. Yeah. Like, I mean, you look at some of the other ones, they've done some good things, but man, he really took this, took the NBA to a whole new place. So, I mean, that was sad to see. A lot of people, had a lot of good things to say about him too. So, from the Kobe perspective, man, that was just, I got a text from one of my friends at work that just said, Kobe died, ? And I was like, what is he talking about? Like, I thought it was like one of those internet hoaxes. Yeah. And, Googled it, and sure enough, right away it came up. Like, New York Post had reported, and I was like, wow, I was blown away by that one, man. I mean, I can't think of. I mean, probably the '70s was the last time something like this happened, when like Thurman Munson from the Yankees died in a plane crash, and Roberto Clemente. Yeah, it's been a little crazy though, man. Like, it was crazy when I first heard it, but then as the more details came out, it was just like I was blown away by everything that happened, especially when his daughter was involved, and then 7 other people were on there. Just, I don't think I've ever seen that in my lifetime, and maybe we won't again. Hopefully we won't again, but to see a guy that high profile, die that tragically was insane. And yes, I mean, work was for a couple days there, especially because no one was ready for that. So it was crazy in the NBA. It really was.
Leading into the All-Star, how much of that got messaged out that they were going to change the name of the trophy, and just kind of the ways that they were planning on honoring him?
We would get we'd hear little tidbits here or there, but like we're kind of kept in the dark about a lot of stuff too, just like everybody else is. They don't want us to, we've had people get fired for leaking stuff when they heard something and then putting it on their Twitter,
especially that information, I'm sure.
Yeah, so they kind of keep that stuff quiet. But we'd hear little things like, oh, I think they might rename the trophy, or, like stuff like that. And then we'd heard about the numbers for the, number 2 and number 24 for the All-Star game. We'd heard about that, I guess, maybe the day before, and then they announced it. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is kind of kept very close to the chest by the people higher up there.
Well, let's get into the All-Star weekend. I'm curious, just initially, what are your feelings about the All-Star weekend in general? Have you ever been to an All-Star weekend?
I went in 98 in New York with my dad. And that was very cool. Just the whole like jam session thing they had set up.
Yes.
And, it was very, very cool experience. But I, as a kid, loved All-Star Weekend. Like my friends would be like, "What are you doing tonight?" I'd be like, "I'm home all weekend. Sorry, like we're not hanging out unless you're coming over to watch this. We're not hanging out." Um, so even as like a teenager, like I loved it. I don't know where it started to lose me. I think maybe the dunk contest starting to deteriorate
Wane a little.
is where it started to kind of lose me. And then I just feel like the game until this season, oh, I shouldn't say this season, until the fourth quarter of this game, I couldn't. I mean, the last one that I remember that was a great All-Star game was maybe '03. I think it was Jordan's last game. And then the one I think 2 years before was like Iverson and Marbury led some big comeback for the East.
Yeah.
But the game itself was really starting to just fall apart. It just was not the same anymore.
You didn't like the dunk wheel?
Oh God, the dunk wheel was terrible. I mean, they've tried so many different things with that contest.
The freestyle one was the most confusing. Although I was excited about that going in because I was like, this sounds great. Just guys like dunking, doing what they can have as many attempts as they want. But the problem is that in the contest, the thing that's so important is the freeze frame or the super slow motion, because there are a couple where I don't even think I would have known what the guy did totally until I saw the slow motion.
Yeah, the slow motion, they actually should not score it until they see the slow motion because, like that, I think it was Pat Connaughton this year. I didn't even notice that he hit the backboard.
Yeah, I thought he
until I
actually
saw
almost
slow-mo.
missed the dunk. That's what I thought
it
had
looked
happened. Like I thought he lost the ball and then somehow gathered it and just put it back in. But he did that intentionally, and I was like, okay, that's legit.
Exactly, because then afterwards you're like, oh, that's a lot more impressive than I thought. But yeah, I mean, the dunk contest this year. I mean, I'm a Magic fan, right? So
yeah, let's get into it.
So okay, I mean, Aaron Gordon's got to be the best dunker to never win a dunk contest at this point. I mean,
By far.
Here's what I don't understand.
It's him or Dominique won one. So,
Dominic did win. He
Yeah.
lost the one for him, but he did win one at least.
Yeah.
This guy probably should have 2 trophies. He should have at least one. But here's my problem. What I don't understand is I understand the scoring in the first round. You score a dunk. Okay, you got 4 guys. You got to whittle it down to 2.
Mm-hmm.
But why are we scoring when it's head to head? Because that's where I think the problem comes in. If you go to the last round and they're each going to get 2 dunks, and Gordon does his dunk and then Jones does his dunk, the judges should just vote who had the better dunk.
Oh, that seems easy.
And
Like
then,
a thumbs up, thumbs down. You got 5
Exactly.
judges, right?
Exactly. And then the next guy goes, they both do their next dunk and they go, okay, so and so had the better dunk this time. Okay, they each got 1. We'll go to 1 more dunk and that's the tiebreaker and that's it. Because when you do scoring, you could continually hit 50s and you're just going to keep going. And at one point I thought they were going to just call it a tie, which I'm almost kind of glad they didn't because
I am too. Dwayne Wade, he tried it. He said afterwards, he's like, I tried to walk away. He was like walking off the stage, trying to lead the rest of the judges and be like, let's call a tie. But that's so lame, especially for just an exhibition.
I have a problem with professional sports that have ties. Like I hate that the NFL has ties still.
Yeah.
I did not want to see a tie, but I just think that Gordon. It's funny. You see people online who are like, well, he kind of didn't clear Taco. It's like, dude, he just jumped over a guy at 7'5" and on an improv because he was out of ideas.
Yeah.
So he pulls Taco from the crowd. He jumps over him. He hits it in the first try. And people are still like, well, and like these are people that can't jump over paper who are online, of course, criticizing, Aaron Gordon because he couldn't get over a 7'5" guy fully. I mean, that was very impressive regardless.
Oh, yeah. I think the best take I heard was that he had Taco fall too close to the rim. And if you would have had him a little bit further back, he would have got to like stretch his arms out a little more because he was almost eating the rim as he got over him because Taco's so tall.
And that just shows you, too, that like he wasn't preparing to do this.
No.
This was clearly like, I need to win this thing. I have nothing left. Well, let me just grab this 7'5" dude and see if I can jump over him. Now, imagine if he didn't clear him, how bad that would have been.
I know.
Like, imagine if
it's going to happen. I'm
that's
scared.
Happen.
Yeah. People jumping over people. It's dangerous.
Yeah. But I think the most impressive dunk of the night was Derek Jones jumping over somebody between the legs off the backboard. That was very impressive. Because I remember years ago, Jason Richardson did an off the backboard between the legs that kind of got overshadowed because I think he lost that contest. But and I always thought that was a really impressive dunk. But to do it jumping over somebody, I mean, that's just unbelievable.
The timing of some of those, it seems incredible. Like that's the beauty of it. If you can time it out that perfectly, and they were getting a lot of them on the first attempt.
And that was always the big thing with me. the last couple of years, man, it's been like
Five
how many
attempts.
misses? Oh my God, yeah. And then by then it's like the anticipation's gone. You know what it is,
Yep.
and it just doesn't get the same score. And it just, I mean, there's been a lot of dunk contests at the end where I just go, oh, that was terrible. And like this. I mean, obviously Levine Gordon was unbelievable, and then this one
Oh
was.
my gosh.
So maybe we're trending in the right direction, but I don't know. We need other guys to like step up and do it. Like I want to see John Morant. I want to see Zion Williamson. I
Yeah.
want those guys do it also.
I was really hoping Levine, after the internet videos of him
Oh,
leaking, I was hoping he would like come out of the crowd and get into
oh
the
my God.
contest.
That that okay. So when he did the one where he did the free throw between the legs,
Oh my
I was
god.
like, I don't think that can ever be topped because that's he looked like he was walking through the air when he did that.
Yeah.
But then to see him do a 360, and he claims apparently he claims he can do a 360 between the legs from the foul line. Which if he
Oh
pulled
my
that off,
God.
my head would explode.
Nah. Yeah. If he does that, it's over.
I mean, like, yeah, just end the dunk contest. There's
Yeah.
nothing left to do at that point.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I mean, overall, it was better this year. But it's still, I don't know, it's still lacking something that it used to have. I feel like.
yeah. I think that the Derek Jones is just something about him because he's so long. My wife said, made the comment that's so good for the amateurs. She asked me, why did Jordan doing the free throw line dunk look so much better? And she said it looked like he was still going up when he was getting to the
Exactly.
rim. And there's something stylistic about dunking, not just about the execution of it, but just how you look flying through the air, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Levine's like that. Like Levine
Yes.
on that 360 he did from the foul line that was
Yeah.
on the internet. Like he would have made that easily. It's just that he hit the back of the
Yeah.
rim with it. It's not like he didn't get like close to it. So I think he's kind of the same way. I
He
think
is.
a lot of those guys. I think well, Derek Jones also he dunks with a lot of power too, and I
He
think that
does.
helps.
I, I like
Good.
I like that. That definitely is a style.
It
I
makes
just
it look
think
more
that
impressive.
I think it's nice when there's the contrast because Aaron Gordon's kind of a power dunker too, and so it's nicer when you got that smooth Levine type dunker with one of the power dunkers. I think that's what was cool about Dominique versus Jordan.
Yeah, well, Dominique is the classic, 2 foot jumper also, which there's very
doubt.
few of. I mean, I think Jason Richardson was one also, and those guys can really dunk with a lot of power.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, this year better, but still has some room to improve. I
Yeah.
feel like.
Always enjoyable. What about the 3-point contest?
I loved the new spots they added. Because
The
to me
do zone?
that shot is so prevalent now. So many
Yeah.
guys pull up from 30 feet like it's nothing. So why not add a new wrinkle to it? And that kind of hadn't, outside of adding the money ball rack, that hadn't really ever been changed.
Yeah.
It was always the 5 racks and it was the one money ball in each. They add the money ball rack. So like, all right, the game's changing a little bit. Guys are shooting from farther. Let's try to add something new to it. I liked it. I thought it was good. I think the 3-point contest pretty much always delivers on some level.
Me too.
It's never awful. It's sometimes it's great, but it's never like terrible.
No. And the ending was perfect. I mean, to have a guy hit the last shot to win
Yeah,
it.
to win on the
that's
last shot. Perfect. I love Buddy Hield. I love his overbite. I don't know why. Something about that guy. He's always seemed like a very nice guy. I was happy
Oh
to
my
see
god!
him.
If your name's Buddy, you got to be nice.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the All-Star changes. What'd you think of the different setup, the Elon setup of the quarters, and then we'll get into the ending a little bit as well.
So the first 3 quarters, I'm watching and I'm going, this is not that different.
Yeah.
Like it's different in the sense of obviously you're trying to win each quarter. But I kept thinking to myself, I was like, if I'm a casual fan, right? If I don't know anything about the NBA All-Star game, I just know that like it's on and I happen to flip it on and I see that the score is 0-0 in the third quarter. I'm going like, what are they doing? And I might just turn it off. I felt like it might turn off casual fans because they don't know what's going on really. So I thought it could have been a matter of keeping the score up. Just keep the score up there. Don't have to reset it after every quarter, but just, figure out who won each quarter kind of thing.
Yeah, just do the award, but don't do the reset. Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that could definitely turn off people who didn't know what was going on. And when I first heard the rules, I was like, I don't know what they're doing. They're trying to reinvent the wheel here. But when we got into the ending, then, like I said, it was good. It was very good. There's room for improvement still, but you saw I saw Kyle Lowry take 2 charges in an All-Star
That was
game.
unbelievable, right?
And I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I was dying. He tried to take another one on LeBron too.
Oh, they didn't. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I think the one thing that hurt more than anything was the refs because they were either had to call everything or they had to call nothing,
Oh,
and
they
they were
couldn't
trying to
because
find
the
that middle
players
ground.
they're all superstar players, and they all started complaining. You can't call everything then.
Yeah, and I think it's like the NBA they want a regular NBA game, but the idea of that fourth quarter was to make it like a pickup game also.
Hmm.
The problem is with a pickup game, people foul each other
A
harder.
lot.
And I was waiting for a fight to break out of them because
I
they were
know.
they were complaining and going after the refs and like I was waiting for somebody to get teed up. Like it was like LeBron was screaming at the ref at one point.
He was mad.
I mean, I
I
get it.
loved
Like
it.
it was definitely an improvement. I mean, I
Yeah.
I didn't like that it ended on a free throw.
Yeah.
They
Biggest free throw
probably
of Anthony Davis's career. What do you think?
right so far. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy's won nothing so far. So,
Wild,
uh,
right?
but I think maybe the one tweak you could make is if you're going to do that again, maybe eliminate free throws in the fourth quarter. Like,
I think so.
foul just gets you the ball back like it does in a pickup game.
Yeah. Or it just can't end on a free throw at least.
Yeah, or at least exactly. If you know, yeah. Yeah, even a win by two factor,
Yeah,
if you
something like
push
that.
the ball, I still think that you got to try to find a way maybe to improve the first three quarters though, which I don't really know what that is yet. Because again, I was watching that going like, man, this is very similar to everything I've seen.
Yeah.
Everyone's like,
It
oh, they're gonna
was.
try.
Yeah.
I didn't see that early in the game.
Yeah, I'm happy with one excellent quarter. Why
Yeah.
why is Giannis so bad at drafting players though?
I got to be honest. The one thing I do hate about the All-Star game, I hate the draft format. Because to me, it's just like, look, it's always been East and West. We don't
Yeah.
have to, go crazy. It's not a real game. It's not like it
I
really
still
counts
want to
for
call it East and West. That's what's hard now.
Well, the funny thing is, the starters were drafted as East and West,
Yep.
literally, and then there was only 6 guys that changed places.
Yeah.
It was like 3 trades were made. That was basically it.
Exactly.
So it really almost was East versus West. And to me, it's like either do that, or I wouldn't mind seeing like, I think the Pro Bowl when they were trying to redo that, they did the draft. They had like Jerry Rice, the captain on one team, and like Deion Sanders, the captain. Like let some like legend be the captain, and they pick the teams
Oh,
instead.
that'd be cool.
Like Shaq does one, and Charles Barkley does one, or something
Right.
something like that. That might be a little better wrinkle to it. But
Well,
yeah,
I just want to see them right before the game just have two-sided jerseys and then just pick up right there on the court before
I
the
kind of
game.
agree with that
'Cause
too.
I
If you're
think
gonna
that would just make people mad.
if you're gonna do it that way. I agree.
Because there's nothing that makes you more mad than not getting picked, and they couldn't hide their emotions. Then you know what I mean? They have LeBron snub you and pick somebody else or Giannis.
Yeah.
Be like, ugh.
But the one thing I've learned about since working at the NBA, the one thing I've learned about the NBA is they're very careful about the players and not
Image.
hurting their feelings or whatever.
Yeah.
It's,
I
so
get that too. It's supposed to be.
I get it on
again,
some level, but to me, it's like if I'm the last guy picked out of the 24 supposed best players in the world, not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not.
Nah.
And it always ends up. It seems like it ends up almost being like a nice guy or a young guy. I mean, the end of the game, because of the way it shook out, like Luka Doncic and Tatum and Ben Simmons were all on the sidelines. I feel like those guys could have been out there, and
that kind of bothered me, especially Luka and Trey because they were starters.
Right? They
And
could
it
have
was
been
like
out there.
Nick Nurse wanted to roll with Lowry, and LeBron wanted to roll with Chris Paul.
I get that, and Paul
And, like,
was playing really well.
Yeah, and I understand that on some level, but it did. I know what you mean. And those guys looked gassed by the end of that quarter too.
Yeah, they did.
They're playing a full court pickup game. It's intense. Like those guys looked gassed by the end.
Did you hear the number of minutes that fourth quarter took real time? Because they didn't do commercial like their normal commercial timeouts or anything.
I didn't see what it was. What was
44 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
So LeBron came in. He didn't come in right away, but some of those guys that were out there for a while in real minutes.
And they figured some of them played like 20 minutes beforehand.
Right.
So you played 64, 65 minutes that night.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that could be some intense basketball.
And now I know why the All-Star break is longer than it used to be.
Yeah.
Definitely makes
Like,
sense
we
now.
definitely need a vacation now.
But yeah, I mean, again, they are trending in the right direction. And the thing for charity was good too, is I think it does gives them players incentive too, obviously.
Oh yeah.
I've always said if you really want to make the All-Star game competitive, just make every player put up $1 million of their own money, and we'll see how competitive it can get then.
No,
You know?
Well, I
If you
did
gotta
feel a
play
little
dodgeball,
bad for
money
the
on the
one
line.
charity though too. After there was like the rollover, and then the one charity kind of took a lot more than the other one.
Yeah, I
It
know
was
that was kind of the other problem too.
a little rough. I was like, oh boy. They're like $100,000. That sounds great until the
Yeah,
other team gets $400,000. You're like,
yeah.
oh wow.
I also think they could probably up it a little bit too if they really want to make it more interesting. I mean,
Yeah, they
because
probably wanted to see if it would even work first.
yeah, I mean, and those kids that were there for the charity were into it also. You could see them;
That
they were
was
in the
cool.
game.
Yeah, the
So it
cutaways to them were awesome.
definitely gave it a much better atmosphere than years past.
Agreed. Well, let's talk a little bit about the stretch run. I'm curious, just starting off, who are the teams that interest you the most going into the last basically 30 games of the season?
Uh, huh. Okay, so the one team I'm actually really pulling for that I don't think I was the beginning of the year, but now I really am is the Raptors
Interesting.
because they like how are they this
Two
good
seed,
still?
right?
How are they this good still?
I don't know.
Like I know Siakam got better, no question, and
Yeah.
he's taking on more of the load. But and I know Lowry's pretty consistent. But man, they're getting a lot out of everybody else, and I think
IU guy, OG Anunoby stepping up.
yes, he is him. Norman Powell. I mean, I think we've one thing we're learning right now is that Nick Nurse is a really good coach. I
Yeah.
think that's the first thing we're all kind of finding out. Another thing is that this team, Ujiri has done a phenomenal job, whether it's free agent signings, drafting, undrafted free agents. I mean, Fred VanVleet was undrafted free agent, and he
That's
has been
crazy.
unbelievable. He's playing the two guard this year, basically, for them. He's 6 feet tall, and
I
I think
love
he's
watching
averaging,
him play too.
oh, yeah, I think he's averaging like 18 and 7 this year, and he's going to
Yeah.
get paid in the offseason. But so I think that's the team. If I'm like my personal, I think that's who I'm rooting for right now.
You
I
think
kind of
they're
would like to
scary in the
see
playoffs?
they don't scare you. That's the problem with them. Like
Yeah.
you look at them and go, oh, they're beatable. But they're just such a good team, and I think that's good for basketball also because
Do they set themselves apart? So it's kind of them, Boston, and Milwaukee are the top. Kind of solidified in the top three. It feels like. Do you think they're quite a bit better than Boston, or is it like Milwaukee in its own class, and then kind of Boston, Toronto, right in there?
to me, it's still Milwaukee is in a class of its own kind of. I mean, that team is just put together so well. Their bench is awesome. Everybody can shoot. It reminds me, honestly, and it's, I mean, a better version of this, but like it reminds me when Orlando went to the finals in '09 and it was basically Dwight Howard and then
Yeah.
everybody around him could shoot. So now we're doing this kind of same thing with Giannis, except Giannis is, 10 times the athlete and player that Dwight Howard was. But now he's surrounded with all these guys that can shoot. So he penetrates, he kicks out, he penetrates, he kicks out, and everybody can hurt you. So they play great defense and they're well coached and they are still the class to like they're the top class of the Eastern Conference still. But Boston, I like Boston's 4 or 5 guys. They just don't have any big man really. I mean, Tice is okay, Cantor's okay.
They've been playing well.
They do play well though. I mean, those 4 or 5 guys, with Smart, including Smart on the bench. I mean, that's a tough 5 guys to play against. Because
Do you need a big man anymore? I mean,
the Rockets are trying to prove that theory.
right?
I mean, maybe you don't. I mean, like you do and you don't though, because I think it depends who you end up matching up against.
Yeah,
if someone's playing Philly, I mean, you got to deal with Embiid, and
that's going to be a problem.
exactly. And if you play the Lakers, you got to deal with Anthony Davis. You play,
Yeah.
But if you're playing one of these smaller teams, like yeah, the Rockets can roll with Covington 6'9" playing center or PJ Tucker playing center and just spread it out and hope for the best, I guess, at this point. I mean, the Rockets are interesting because they play well sometimes with this small ball lineup and other times they get killed. But I think a lot of that is just like, well, you're relying on shooting. And if you're not shooting well, you're going to lose.
Do you like, this is kind of I'm always curious to poll people on if they like watching the Rockets because they play such a unique style and they're pushing kind of the boundaries of what basketball is in 2020 that I'm just kind of curious to see what people think of it.
I like James Harden on some level, but I don't like James Harden on the other level. Like I like when he's hot, he's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
But when he's off, he's hard to watch. And because it's funny when they got Westbrook, all I kept hearing was, well, Westbrook better change his game. Westbrook's got to change his game. And the more I watch them, I go, I think James Harden has to change if they're going to win.
Yeah.
Like
that's kind of what has happened, right? Westbrook's gone the sort of hyper version of himself. He's shooting less, driving to the
Yep.
basket constantly, and it's been Harden that's been adjusting a bit.
And Harden, I mean, the fact that this, was averaging 37 points a game. I mean,
It was at
part of it,
39 at one point.
yeah, I know. I think part of it's D'Antoni's offense that obviously inflates your numbers, but he also, he has games where he'll shoot 40 shots. He takes more threes than probably anyone I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And he gets to the free throw line a lot too, which I think some people don't like, but to me, that's like a lost art. That's part of the game, man. If you can get to the free throw line, that's easy points. So get to the free throw line as much as you can. We had this. It's funny. I had a whole debate with somebody at work the other day about Harden and him getting to the free throw line, and he's like, "Well, I hate when he gets all these calls." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what though? That's on the refs to not call some of this stuff."
Yeah.
Like one of the things.
That's hard work doing that too.
Absolutely.
Just that relentlessness of driving to the basket to try and draw fouls or throwing your body into people, and that's exhausting.
Like the one call that I do hate, and you see it a lot in college basketball and NBA now too, is, I pump fake you, you jump, I jump into you, and they call a foul. Like I hate that call, and in order for that to change, the refs have to stop calling it. Yeah. And until the refs stop calling it, players are going to keep doing it, and I can't blame them if they keep doing it.
It's so hard though. With I feel like it's such a bang bang play. People, I think, underestimate how fast basketball is. Like to be able to process it that quickly and not let it trick you, because these guys, that's their whole thing is selling it, making it look real. They don't just try to exaggerate it. They try to make it look like it's actually a foul, and you do get that kind of benefit of the doubt as a superstar, I feel like too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was watching Lakers Nuggets the other night, and Jokic was trying to pull that move, and he didn't get the call both times. And to me, it just results in a bad shot, basically, and a waste of possession then, because he was trying to do the old pump fake and jump into him. And like, I feel like that works if a guy's running at you, because his momentum is going to carry it and it's going to look better. But if a guy's right in front of you, just standing there, and you pump fake and he jumps and then you jump into him, and the ref doesn't call it, it's just a bad shot at that point,
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't know. Harden is polarizing, to say the least, though.
So I'm gonna put you down as undecided still.
On which one? Harden?
On Houston and Harden.
Yeah, I mean, like, I watched them beat the Lakers like the first night, and then they come back and like lose the next night. So it's like, I don't know what to make of them.
Well, speaking of not knowing what to make of them, I'm curious then your take on Philly, because I have been more confused by them this year maybe than any other team. And they seem to be like the most back and forth or wishy-washy team. They're like, are they together? Are there locker room issues? Is there something wrong with Al Horford? It's like flavor of the week. What's going on with them?
All right, your opinion. If you had to pick right now, Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, who are you taking?
I'm taking Ben Simmons, but it's just because of the way I like to watch basketball. I just think he's more entertaining to watch. If I had a one game to win, or if I wanted to win the East this year, I might take Joel Embiid, because I think with him, they oddly maybe still have a shot at winning the East.
Yeah, I mean, they have the talent, that's for sure.
But that's weird, right? Because they're like a 6 seed right now.
Yeah, so I think, I put it this way: if they go out in the second round this year, like if they go out early, I think the upper management's going to be like, we got to pick one, because every time I watch Ben Simmons play without Embiid, he plays phenomenal.
Yeah,
like, because he's very LeBron, Giannis type.
Yeah,
I mean, he can't shoot.
He's sort of a version. He's a version of Giannis, right? The one that couldn't shoot, but he's such a good passer too.
Exactly. So I just think it's I don't know if they just don't mesh well. And the Al Horford signing was baffling from the beginning, because it's like he just gave a guy $100 million who's like 36 years old already, or whatever he is. And I think in today's NBA, we are learning the way it's gone. It's actually gotten similar to the way college kind of is now. We're like, you don't need 2 6'10" guys down low. Like, you can have one, but then I think like your 4 guy has to be like a small forward masquerading as a 4, like a Jason Tatum kind of player. Like, if it was Horford in the center, and then like someone else, Tobias Harris was playing the 4, and then something like that, then it's like, okay. Or just even Embiid and then Tobias Harris was playing the 4. I think the idea that we're going to get Horford in there, I mean, he helps if Embiid gets hurt, obviously, but I think they don't mesh well together.
Yeah.
I mean, Horford's putting up the same numbers he always puts up. He's giving his 12 or 13 points, his 6, 7 boards, but it's just they don't look right, and their bench is not great, and that doesn't help either.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think some of their bench guys, or Horford coming off the bench, doesn't that solve some of that if you just don't have him in the starting lineup?
It does help to some degree, and then it's going to be interesting to see how that works going forward. And he seems to be, he's a veteran. I think he's okay with it at this point. He just wants to win, I think, at this point. So it might make a difference. And look, they made some decent moves at the deadline. Alec Burks was solid, and Glenn Robinson was solid. But no one on that bench scares you, though. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So maybe Horford to the bench will make that difference.
I feel like they got to try and get to like a 4 seed too, because the other weird thing about them is their home road split. I mean, have you ever seen anything like that before with their home record? I think 25-2, so they've got a better home record than the Bucks.
Yeah,
but their road record is way under 500.
Way under, and I don't know if it's like the pressure of playing on the road. I don't know. I understand the road's a little tougher to win on, sure. But
yeah,
I mean, I really can't figure them out, because if you look on paper, I think their starting lineup at the beginning of the season, I was like, that's the most talented starting lineup, probably, definitely in the East, maybe in the entire league.
Yeah.
Like 1 through 5, I was like, man, that's really good.
Take any of those guys, right?
Any of them. I mean, not for the price some of them are paid, but yeah, like
that's a separate thing.
But yeah, like they should be. There's no reason they should be in sixth place right now. They should be in the top 3 at the very least. But the East, I think it's still the Bucks to lose. I mean, it's I can't see them not getting there this year. Now that Giannis has got last year under his belt, and the Raptors look as good as they're playing, they're probably not as talented as they were last year, obviously. So I still think it's the Bucks that are the team to beat.
Well, since you got the East all figured out, let's talk a little bit more about the West. I'm curious to get your take on the 2 LA teams.
Rooting hard for the Clippers. Hate LeBron. Always have. Always will. Great player, phenomenal player, but something about him is just unlikable to me, and it always will be.
I love it. You have to have those players in the league that are just kind of irritate you or rub you the wrong way.
Yep, and he's kind of always been that guy for me, so I'm gonna stick to that. But the Lakers are very good. But the one thing I've noticed, and when he's not on the court, they are not very good. They don't. It's like I feel like they needed to get a point guard at the deadline, or someone that can kind of direct things when he's not in there.
Do you think the trade deadline, and by extension, kind of the buyout market actually matters? Because I heard Darren Collison mentioned with them a bunch, and you hear a bunch of trade things, and there were a few trades that I think maybe mattered, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if these guys, at least this year, any of them are going to swing the needle.
I mean, it helps. I mean, when you have that ability, and I think putting a little pressure on teams by having a trade deadline is good, because it's like, all right, make a move now or you ain't making any moves.
Right.
I mean, some of the trades, I thought like getting Marcus Morris for the Clippers is going to help.
But Marcus Morris, we saw him versus LeBron when he was with the Celtics, and I was not impressed by him.
I mean, he talks a big game, and he's got to back it up. That's part of the problem with him.
Yeah.
But I think talent-wise, he makes them better. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But is it going to put them over the top? Maybe not. They could have won the championship without him, or they could win it with him.
I think they need Paul George healthy. That's what they need.
Yeah, he's been nursing something all year this year, so he needs to get it together.
That concerns me.
Well, if I'm them, I kind of take it easy with him so far. The next couple weeks, and just see
how much easier can you take it.
Yeah, well, the whole load management thing with these guys is another separate issue.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to come down to the Clippers and the Lakers still, and I think that's what the NBA wants to come down to, because that to me is the most attractive matchup by far, because Kawhi is the one guy I think that on some level has LeBron's number.
Seems like there's a mentality that he has developed that, boy, it's going to be tough for the Lakers to get by him. It's going to have to be Anthony Davis that puts the Lakers over the top in that series, right?
And that's the thing. It's like who's going to guard him? I mean, Harold would be the guy, if anybody, because of how long he is. His arms are so long; it's ridiculous. Yeah. And he's a big body. But I think you can get away at times with putting Kawhi on him, because Kawhi is such a good defender, and he's got such big hands. And you know what I mean? Like, you can get away with it. And also, let's be honest, Anthony Davis is not a traditional back to the basket kind of guy.
No.
He steps out a
it's
lot.
more about like rebounding, like how many offensive rebounds, because that's how LeBron and the Cavs won the championship that one year, is that they were less talented, and LeBron in the playoffs walks the ball up the court, mucks up the game, and then they just pound the offensive glass. And even if you're the more talented team, that is a formula for beating more talented teams.
Oh, offensive rebounding is, I still think it's like the most underrated thing in basketball,
Yeah.
because you get so many second opportunities that way. And like, I think too many teams now are very reluctant, or are very, very quick to just like, oh, we missed a shot. All right, back on defense. And it's like, man,
Right.
if you go after it though, man, you can get easy baskets, or you can reset the clock and kill more clock if you're winning. Or offensive rebounding to me is one of the most important things, especially in the playoffs. I don't know. I mean, like, I like the Lakers. Like, I think they're really good, but I just don't know if they're like, I don't know. Like, Dwight's played well, JaVale McGee's played well, but do I trust them in like a big moment to make the right play? I feel like you get a J.R. Smith moment with like JaVale McGee.
He's out there.
Know?
He's available.
I've heard, they talked about signing him too, which to me would be criminal if they brought that guy back after what he did last time.
The crazy thing is, it would get people excited, but then he probably wouldn't even see the floor. I think they're okay. Honestly, I think they can win it with the team they have.
Oh, they definitely can win it with the team they have.
Yeah.
But I still think, even if you would have got, pry a guy like Derrick Rose away from the Pistons, or somebody like that, like who could really help make a difference in the backcourt. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think it's Clippers and Lakers. Flip a coin. I want the Clippers to win, but I'll live with whatever happens.
What about let's finish up. I'm curious to get the take on the Nuggets and then the Jazz. I think the Jazz have been surging. Do you think they can get up to the 2 seed? Did the Nuggets hang on to it, or do you think that's kind of the Clippers' ultimate destiny? They're kind of all jumbled up there right now.
I mean, the Nuggets are a nice team, and the Jazz are a nice team, but I just think, I think I actually like the Jazz more this year. The Nuggets just seem like they're missing something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Gary Harris has regressed.
What happened to him?
I mean, he's like is he Danny Green? Like, is he?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, he's not as good as people thought.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, the more I watch Jokic, as good as he is, I don't think he's a guy that can lead a team to a championship. I think he's a guy you pair with somebody else who's of his caliber, but I don't know if you can just have him as your guy and win a title. Like, something about the way he plays sometimes, he doesn't, like, he's a great passer, and I just don't think he makes the right decisions sometimes. And I think he needs kind of somebody else to be the real leader. Jamal Murray's good, but like, he doesn't blow me away. Michael Porter's coming on, so that's good.
Too young
still.
Mm-hmm.
They did a good job, I think, at the deadline, kind of getting rid of some guys, because they had a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, let's try to clear out this rotation a little bit, get our set 9 or 10 guys, and let's go with that. And the Jazz, I think they're not there yet. I think Donovan Mitchell is really good. I think Gobert's really good. I was very happy to see him make the All-Star game this year.
He looked good in the All-Star game too.
He did. Well, I watched him against the Nets a couple weeks ago, man, and he was just bodying poor Jared Allen, like throwing him around like it was nothing. I mean, he's got broad shoulders. He's a big dude.
He is.
He's skilled. He rebounds great. So like, they're talented, but I just I think with
Mitchell.
Love Donovan Mitchell, but I just think with LeBron and Kawhi in the West, it's like, man, good luck to you guys.
Yeah.
I guess the only team, I hate to say it, the only team if they got really hot that I could see taking down one of those teams is the Rockets, because they have the fire. Well, they have the firepower at least.
Huh.
So let's say Harden was on a tear the entire
just
playoffs.
to math them almost, just the number of 3-pointers and get on fire.
Exactly. But let's be honest, they'll have nights where they're off, and when you live by the 3, you die by the 3, and they're going to probably die a slow death by the 3 like they have before. Yeah. So I just think, again, it's Clippers Lakers to me, man. I can't see it being anything else at this point, and regardless of what seed everybody is.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. But I do wonder if there's just a slim possibility that there's something about the Clippers that I'm maybe kind of how you feel about the Lakers. I just feel like they're playing like a team that's won 2 championships and they haven't won anything yet. I know Kawhi has, but the other guys on the team haven't really made a deep playoff run, and they just don't have that continuity or I don't know. There just seems like there's something missing there, and the lack of the big guy. You talked a little bit about Boston. I mean, Jokic might be a real problem for the Clippers, let alone Anthony Davis. I mean, Jokic has been nasty since that slow start into the year.
Well, he's doing the Shaq thing where you kind of work yourself into shape as the season goes on.
Exactly. I don't know how much shape he's worked himself into, but he's sure playing a lot better.
Yeah, he's definitely playing better. Yeah, I think with the Clippers, man, like I think it's a matter of them all playing together, and that just hasn't happened a lot this year. Because if I take them on paper and I say this is their best lineup to trot out, if I'm going, let's say I'm starting Beverly and Shamet, Kawhi and Paul George and Zubac, but my bench now is Lou Williams, Marcus Morris, Montrezl Harrell. I mean, if those three are coming off your bench, that's the best bench in basketball, obviously.
No doubt.
I'll roll with those 8 guys and be confident that I can win a championship. But they never all play together,
right?
Because someone's always hurt.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue with them right now is they got to get healthy.
I think that matters because you have to have that trust level in the playoffs where it's crunch time. Who do you throw out there? Like you want those best guys out there or some mixture of them. But if they've never played together, there's some element of danger in that where they don't know each other quite well enough to just trust each other in that moment. And maybe they'll get over it, but I don't know.
I mean, I think it's going to come down to how much they play together in like March.
Right.
If they're all kind of healthy in March and they're playing together, I think they'll be fine. But if we're still doing this, well, Paul George is banged up and, Shamet's banged up and this guy's banged. Like if we're still doing that in the middle of March, it's going to be, they better hope they get the easiest first round opponent you could think of. But the problem in the West is that nobody's easy to play against.
Yeah. The 8 seed, I'll tell you what, that'd be fun. The Lakers versus the Grizzlies. I know it'd probably be a sweep, but just the young up and coming team versus the old veterans. Oh, that's such a classic.
Love that the Grizzlies are good this year too. That they've been better than people thought. Some of those guys in that team, and even like a guy like Dylan Brooks, he was good in college. I didn't think he'd be this good in the NBA.
He's been playing awesome.
Great. He's playing great. It's happy to see that they're hanging around there. I don't know if they get in for sure. I still think the Blazers might have a run on them. And they've been banged up to no end.
Depends on how long Dame's out for. Did you hear anything about his groin?
I know they said they're going to reevaluate him after the All-Star break. I mean, I saw him; he was taking jumpers during the All-Star game, like during the breaks. So
that's good. Didn't affect his rapping either.
No, yeah, of course I'd get out there to that performance still. Yeah. I said I really enjoyed the Broadway show going on before the NBA All-Star game. It's getting to be a little much now.
Oh my gosh, for sure. I love the whole show of it. It's fun.
But I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how the season shakes out because I think in a weird way, I mean, with the whole Kobe thing happening, it's like, man, a lot of people are probably gonna be rooting for the Lakers.
Yeah.
I'm not, just because I don't like LeBron. If they didn't have LeBron, I'd root hard for the Lakers. So I just don't want to see him win another one. I don't think I can stomach that at this point. I don't think I can argue with one more person about Michael Jordan versus LeBron James anymore. So I need him to not win anymore.
There'd be all the arguments if he wins again.
Oh God, it never ends. It really. Like I get in so many arguments about that. And no matter what I say, I'm just looking at it as like the crazy old man at this point.
That's right. It's a good place to be in life. That means you've made it long enough to become the crazy old man.
I guess you're right. And I guess I'm happy I got to see both of them at least,
No doubt. I felt like I got to see a lot of Jordan's career too, and now all of LeBron so far. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I mean, just to see how it shakes out. I mean, a lot of good players, but like I said, guys are banged up and teams aren't fully healthy. So until everyone I think March is where you start to really see it because everyone starts to, for the most part, get healthy and they have their guys set, and then we go from there, kind of thing,
Love it. Well, I'm gonna cut it there, and hopefully Josh will just let us keep doing these every week because I'm fine with doing a weekly check-in and then seeing where we're at as the weeks go. I love talking NBA.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is all I do. I talk basketball with everybody all day, every day.
Thank you for listening to the 19.9 podcast with HVS, the High Volume Shooters. For more information, check out the blog at 199.com under HVS. And while you're there, pick up some of the best basketball apparel on the planet. Until next time.